Welcome everybody to this video. I'm going to first start off by unboxing the VanTrue Nexus N5. So as you can see here, it comes in a really nice package. Very, very well done. Kind of reminiscent of something like an Apple product or something like that. So just removing the plastic here, we will see inside you'll get the two cameras. So your primary camera is going to be on the right, your secondary camera is going to be in the middle, and then your cigarette lighter accessory panel is going to be on the left, and then everything else is going to be beneath this little foam bit. So if you guys do want to use the cigarette lighter, it'll be a little bit simpler of an installation. I'm going to show you guys the full hardwire installation. So for that, you're going to also need to buy the VanTrue Hardwire Kit, which again, I'm going to have everything linked down below, including tools and other things like that that I use, so that way it's going to be as easy as possible for you guys to get started and to complete this job. But yeah, you're going to be getting a couple of anti-static pads, a couple of wipes, and microfiber cloth. You're also going to be getting some incentives to share your opinions and a couple of stickers and things like that if you choose to actually go with that. Now, inside of here, we're going to be getting all of our accessories. So inside of this first little bag here, this is going to be the smaller camera, which is going to be going in the back, and it shows you the correct way and the incorrect way of how to do it. In this particular box here, you're going to be getting the cigarette lighter adapter. So again, it's just going to be the cigarette lighter on one side and USB-C on the other. You'll also get another USB-A to USB-C cable, so that is pretty nice, especially if you just want to get the thing set up before you actually go and install it. You'll also be getting these two pads right here, which are going to be the pads that the actual main unit mount on. So it just basically slides in there. Right here, this is going to be the mount for the N5. So you'll see that there's a couple of pins there. Those line up with the pins on the actual N5 device itself. And then right in here is going to be your cigarette lighter adapter. And then inside of this last box is going to be the long cable, which is going to be going from your N5 to the back. Alright, so right here we're just going to find our fuse box. So on the Toyota RAV4 2019 to 2025, you're going to be basically looking in the footwell on the driver's side, and if you look up, you'll see the fuse box is right there. So you can just remove that very simply. It's just held in by a little clip. And you're also going to want to be taking your voltmeter. So right here we have this one, and we're going to be setting it to DC volts. So that's going to be the V with the little squiggle on the top of it. And you're going to want to make sure that you find a nice ground for the black lead, and then the red lead you can use to test any of the fuses or empty slots. Now, something that I want to make very clear is that number one, the fuses in the RAV4, what's very nice is that there is one fuse that is open that is always supplied with battery power, so it's going to be a 12.5 volt output all the time, and the other one is going to be not supplied with power until you turn the accessory mode on or you turn the car on itself. And so those are the exact ones that we need. We need one that's always on, and we need one that is going to be accessory power only. So fortunately with the RAV4 you don't need to actually tap any fuses, but if you are not so fortunate, just make sure that the fuse that you do tap is something that's not essential. So things like the radio, things like lights, like interior lights or something like that, or other types of things like that are going to be the ones that you'd want to tap, because if something were to go wrong, those are not essential and they wouldn't cause any sort of safety hazard. Do not tap things like the airbags or other things like that. That could be really, really bad if something were to happen eventually. So yeah, just be very, very careful when you're doing this. And also make sure that when you're actually inserting fuses and taking fuses out, that the car battery is off, so the car is completely turned off. Fuse taps are going to be directional in this way and out that way. So here's a nice little diagram that I found, which will pretty much show you how things are wired up. And once you have everything connected, you can see that this one is connected properly. The one behind it is connected improperly, just to show you that that is not how you want to do it on this car. Now, you can see that both of them are connected properly, and the back one is supplying 0 volts of power, which is exactly what we want. Now here inside of the Hardwire kit, you're going to have 3 leads. One of them is going to be going to battery power, which is the red one. That's going to be the 12 volt always on. The yellow one is going to go to accessory power, so that's going to be the 0 volt one, and then the ground is going to be connected to a ground, which is going to be just a solid metal surface. On the primary box, you're going to be seeing 11.6 volt and a 12 volt option. I would recommend putting this on 12 volts since that's going to be the highest voltage, and that will make sure that you can actually start your car even if you leave it for a while. Now, the next thing that we want to do is just simply take each of the wires and connect them up. So connect the red one to the fuse tap that is always hot, and connect the yellow one to the fuse tap that is accessory power only. Then you just want to find a nice ground. So on the RAV4, what's really nice is you have this little plastic screw type of thing here, and this is a really good ground. All we would really need to do is just add a washer and clamp it, and then screw it in. Now, we just want to make sure that our work is good, so just test it by plugging it in, turning on the power, or turning on the car itself, and then you can see here that we are getting a video feed. Alright, so now that we have everything tested, we can go on to actually wiring this car up to the front camera. So we're just going to be starting off by removing the weather stripping on the driver's side. You don't have to do all of it, just enough to kind of be able to get the wires in through the crevices and other things like that. Plus also you're going to be needing a little bit more clearance to actually pull off the A-pillar trim. But anyway, you can see right here that now I'm just going and wiring things up. So there's a couple of gaps beneath the footwell, so I'm just sort of squishing the wire into there, and then once we get to the left side, you're pretty much going to have a ton of clearance, so you'll just wire everything up to the A-pillar, and then I just squish the wire underneath the A-pillar towards the windshield, and then once I get to the windshield, then I just go and wire everything up along the factory harness. And what you want to do is take a bunch of zip ties. I used, I think, 4 or 5, and you'll just zip tie all the way up that cable, so that way it's completely secured to the factory harness and it's not going anywhere. If you do not do this, you run the risk of the cable sagging and blocking the airbag, which if you get into a car accident is going to be an extremely bad time, and you could get seriously injured or you could die. So make sure that you do this properly instead of rushing it. And so now I'm just pulling the rest of the excess cable that I had through, and then we're just going to wire it into the headliner. So just make sure that you have enough, and then you can go and push the wire up into the headliner, plug in the dash cam, and then figure out where you want to seat it. And once you have everything situated, just wipe off the windshield with a microfiber cloth and some alcohol, and then just remove your 3M little sticker, plug the dash cam in, and mount it to the windshield. Alright, and so now to actually get the back camera wired up, it's going to be pretty similar to what we did here, only it's going to be a little bit easier because you're not going to have to deal with airbags, at least the way that I did it. So here, we're just going to be removing all of the weather stripping for the passenger door as well as the back door on the passenger side. This is just going to make sure that we can have clearance on the A-pillar as well as on the B-pillar and the sort of back trim. And so you can see that I'm just removing all of that. And now we're just finishing routing all of our cabling up into the headliner towards the A-pillar on the passenger side. And since we're not going down on the passenger side, we don't have to worry too much about the airbag. But I did want to actually remove the A-pillar trim entirely, just to make sure that there was nothing that would be potentially a hazard for any passenger that is going to be sitting in the car. So to do this, again, same thing as on the other side, you just want to give it a nice tug. That'll sort of loosen things up and pop the clips out a little bit. And then what I did here is I just took my cable and I ran it behind the factory harness because there's a little slot there, and if you have it in front of the factory harness, again, it's possible that if you were to get into an accident that the cable could block the airbag, but you can see that here I have the cable running through underneath the factory harness and out. And so I'm just untangling everything and pulling the rest of the wire through. And this is just going to make sure that everything stays nice and tight, and that if you were to get into an accident, that your passenger would be safe. With the A-pillar trim, if you do pull it out and the yellow clip kind of catches, it's very, very difficult to get it back in properly. So I just removed it. And if you remove it entirely, it's pretty simple. You just put back the yellow clips and then realign the trim, then just snap it into place with a couple of hits, and you're pretty much good to go. So now back here, I'm just going to pop the trim on the seatbelt harness off. And you don't need it to come all the way off, you just need a little bit of clearance. So as you can see here, we're just going to run our cable up underneath the headliner and in through here, and that's going to take us to the back second row. So you can see that I'm just feeding everything in through here, pulling everything nice and tight, and then we'll be able to get on with the next step here. So what I decided to do is to wire this down to like sort of the footwell area and then back up. This does use up more cable, so if you have a larger vehicle than the RAV4, this may not work out so nicely, and you may have to actually wire around the rear side curtain airbag. If you do have to wire around the rear side curtain airbag, just use plenty of zip ties on the factory harness behind the airbag, so that way your passengers stay safe. But again, I was able to do this with just wiring it down. So you can see here, I'm just tucking the cable in behind the trim and taking it all the way down to the floor. And in here in the floor, you just want to basically use a pry bar or something else. You could use your fingers, but it's a little bit tough. You just want to pry up the foot trim. You just want to pry up the door sill trim on the rear side. And inside of there, you're going to be seeing a couple of wires from the factory. So there's some pretty thick ones, and then there's some pretty thin ones. And I'm just taking a zip tie here. You really only need one, I think. And I'm just going to be zip tying the cable to that, so that way it doesn't rock around at all. And then you just want to simply clip the zip tie when you're done with it. And then to close everything up, just give it a couple of nice firm hits. And then all we need to do is just simply take the rest of our cabling and run it up towards that back pillar. And so you'll see here that now we're just going to be feeding it up, and there's a little crack here that we can feed it into. And you can really only get it so far without removing a little clip back here in the trunk. So open up your hatchback, then pull very firmly on the back here. It'll release one clip. I couldn't really get the other clip off so easily, so I didn't really want to force it. But removing the back clip gave me just enough clearance to actually be able to squish the wire in behind this trim piece. So you can see that I'm just working it in there, and then we're just going to run along the trunk headliner towards the stock factory grommet. Now, something that you want to be very careful of back here is that the weather stripping on the back has some grease or some glue that's very, very sticky and also hard to get out. So if you can avoid getting it on any of the trim, that would probably be best. But I will show you guys how to get it out if you do end up accidentally messing up your trim pieces and some of the cloth with that black stuff. So then here for the back, it's pretty simple. I use a little pry bar just to kind of give me a little bit of leverage, but you just pull this piece right off. It's held in by 4 clips. Then you undo the rubber grommet, and then I took some silicone lubricant, which is going to be pretty much your best bet for this, and you're just going to squirt a little bit into that factory grommet. It's not going to hurt any of the cables or anything like that. Unfortunately, though, you're not going to be able to see too much of what I did here because the camera was kind of blocked by my back. But anyway, all you need to do here is, for me, I took a USB-C cable that I wasn't using and snaked it in through the top. So basically, you just want to take that USB-C cable, stick it in the grommet, and then kind of feed it through to the bottom. There's going to be a very small hole on the RAV4, and you just want to make sure that you snake the USB-C cable through that little hole, grab it with some pliers, and then pull it through. Then you just want to take that USB-C cable and use some black electrical tape and join that USB-C cable to the USB-C cable from your dash cam, and make sure that it's entirely covered so that way it doesn't get stuck on anything. And then you just want to pull it all the way back through your factory grommet until it comes out the other side. Then you can just undo everything that you did with the tape, and you have your dash camera cable successfully through all of the factory grommet and everything. And so now all you need to do is just take your trim piece, and what I did is just took a little Dremel and dremeled out some of the plastic, so that way it wasn't going to be getting pinched or anything like that. And it looks like a pretty professional install. The next thing that we want to do is just take some alcohol on a wipe down the back window, and if you have a car like this that has all of the defrosters, just make sure that you put the sticker part in between those, because if you put it on one of them, number one, you could damage it, and number two, it will get very, very hot and it'll probably melt the glue. So just be very careful when you're doing that. Now, if you guys did end up ruining your trim a little bit with some of that black goo, just use Goo Be Gone on a little microfiber cloth or on a towel or something like that. Just spray a little bit on and make sure that you rub it in to the plastic or to the cloth, and it should get rid of pretty much everything that's staining. So if you guys did have an issue there, this is how you solve that. And now we're just going to be testing out the collision detection. So here I'm just tapping a little bit on the windshield, and I'm tapping pretty lightly, and I have the sensitivity on 5 for the parking mode collision detection, and you can see that it pops on right there, and here is what it captured. So you can see here it captured a couple of seconds before I hit the dash cam and a couple of seconds after, so that is pretty nice. It also has some speed information if you choose to embed that, and it also has your GPS coordinates and all of that. And so right in here, you can see what it looks like inside the cabin at night. You can see everything is pretty nicely illuminated. Alright, so that's been the video. If you guys did enjoy this, definitely make sure that you drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and if you have any difficulties with any of the installation steps, definitely please do drop a comment in the comment section and I'll get back to you guys. If you want to pick up any of the items that you saw in this video to do this for yourself, then please use the links that I have in the description, as they do help out the channel a little bit, and yeah, everything is nice and conveniently laid out there for you. But with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. Later.